You ever have one of those mornings where you wake up thinking, okay, today's just going to be another regular Tuesday, and then bam, before you even get your first sip of coffee, the universe decides, nope, not today, buddy. That's exactly how it started for me. I mean, it's kind of hilarious now, but at the time, man, I should have known the second I saw my own breath hanging in the air, splitting wood out front, that the peace and quiet I'd been chasing in these Wyoming mountains was about to get lit on fire. So there I was, hoodie up, earbuds in the world narrowed down to the rhythm of an axe thudding into a log. You know, the kind of morning where you're just lost in your own head thinking about everything and nothing at the same time. And then out of nowhere, I catch a glimpse of someone standing on my porch, like actually on the porch, not the driveway, not the walk. And she's not just anybody. This is Lillian Brooks, president of the Silver Pines Homeowners Association, holding a clipboard like it's a damn sword, and she's about to knight or behead someone. Let me paint you a picture. Perfect posture, perfect hair. That little string of pearls that says, I eat people like you for breakfast. And here's the best part, we're not in Beverly Hills. We're in the sticks, middle of nowhere, Wyoming. So to see someone that, polished out here, it's like finding a Prada purse at a truck stop. Anyway, she gives me that tight-lipped smile that's basically the international sign for your day's about to suck. I mean, come on, my name's Ethan Walker, by the way. 4 years before all this, I'd cashed in everything I had for 5 acres on the edge of this so-called planned community. I wanted space trees, the kind of silence that gets so deep it's almost a sound in itself. Plus, I wanted to live my life without some bored retiree measuring my grass with a ruler. Life out here, it's not all sunsets and s'mores. We're talking winters that'll freeze your eyelashes together, power that goes out for days at a time. -20, -30, easy. So yeah, I prepared. You have to. I had a wall of firewood stacked up neat rows under tarps enough to make a beaver jealous. 6 propane tanks, each one chained down to a concrete pad. Backup generator, wood stove, the whole 9 yards. I was ready for anything. Or so I thought. So I pull out my earbuds, deep breath, and try to play nice. Morning, Lillian. Can I help you? She doesn't bother with small talk. She just snaps open that clipboard and goes, Ethan, we need to talk about your property. I wipe my hands on my jeans, already bracing for whatever's coming. Okay, talk. She points like she's making her case to the Supreme Court at my stash of wood and propane tanks. This, she says, is unacceptable. I actually blinked. Like, did I just get called out for surviving? Unacceptable how? She says it violates community standards. It's an eyesore. It's excessive. I laugh before I can stop myself. Lillian, we live in the mountains. Winter lasts half the year. This is called not freezing to death. She adjusts her pearls. You know the universal sign for I don't care what you think, I'm still right. She says the board met yesterday and decided my stockpiling was dragging down property values. Then she actually hands me a letter, all official looking. HOA logo, scary language. I get 30 days, she says, to cut my firewood down to half a cord and remove all but 1 propane tank. Half a cord that might last me, 3 weeks in January. And only 1 tank. I say, Lillian, my generator, my stove, my heater, they all run on propane. She just shrugs. The rules are the rules. We all have to make sacrifices for the good of the community. The way she said it, sweet, almost like she was explaining fractions to a toddler, made my blood pressure spike. I ask her to show me where in the bylaws it says anything about fuel limits. She sniffs section 14, subsection C. The board has the authority to implement new standards. Yeah, I'd read that section. Vague as hell. Maintenance, safety, general appearance, but nothing about quantity, nothing about energy storage. This was a stretch, and she knew it. I tell her as much. This is overreach, and you know it. She just waves her hand. Take it up with the board and walks off my porch like she's already won. Leaves me standing there with a letter that basically says freeze or comply. So I do what any normal, slightly stubborn guy would do. I go inside, pour some coffee, and start digging through every HOA document I own. Highlighter, sticky notes, the whole Sherlock Holmes routine. And I'm right, there is nothing in there about how much fuel I can store. They were stretching those community standards like silly putty. I start emailing the board polite, at first explaining about outages, blizzards, emergencies. Every reply. Copy-paste template. Dear homeowner, please comply. Failure to do so will result in fines. Day 31 rolls around. The fines start. $50 a day. And I mean every single day. I don't pay. I don't move a thing. I don't even blink. Then the certified letters start showing up, escalating language threats, talk about liens and foreclosure. That's when it hits me. This isn't about propane or firewood. It's personal. So I start talking to neighbors, quietly over fences at the mailbox while walking dogs. That's when things get interesting. Turns out I'm not the only one in Lillian's crosshairs. 3 houses down, Maria Gomez gets cited for too many garden decorations. Across the street, Kevin Reynolds gets fined for parking his work truck in his own driveway. Someone else gets a warning about their non-approved patio furniture. It's all selective. Pressure tactics. Then comes the twist. I learn about Lillian's brother-in-law, Marcus Hale. He owns Hale Community Management, the company handling all the HOA's money and maintenance. Suddenly, the puzzle pieces start clicking together. So I request the HOA's financial records. Legally, I have the right. But they ignore Stonewall until I threaten legal action. When the records finally arrive, I just about spit out my coffee. $15,000 a month for management fees. For a 180-home neighborhood, that's almost triple what nearby places pay. I start noticing repairs no one remembers, inspections no one's ever seen, maintenance nobody can verify. Meanwhile, winter's breathing down my neck. October turns to November. Nights dip into the teens. Snow starts showing up for its 6-month stay. My fines pass $3,000, then $5,000. Lillian drops another letter, foreclosure warning, big red letters. That's when I decide enough's enough. I drive down to the county records office, digging through development plans, utility maps, old contracts. That's when I find the smoking gun. Turns out Silver Pines was built with a centralized propane system, underground lines run and managed by, you guessed it, Hale Community Management. Every homeowner still connected pays for propane through HOA fees at sky-high rates. Except me. The guy before me started disconnecting, told me flat out, they're overcharging like crazy. So I finished the job, got my own supplier, saved myself a ton. And apparently that made me a problem. Because if other people followed my lead, Hill would lose thousands every month. And Lillian's family would take the hit. That's when the light bulb goes off. The fines, the threats, they're not about aesthetics. They're about scaring me back onto their overpriced propane system, keeping the money flowing. And I was standing in the way. Okay, let's hit pause for a second because I know what some of you are thinking. Can they actually do that? Well, not legally, not like this. HOAs can create rules, sure, but they have to be reasonable, clearly defined, and enforced equally. You can't just wake up and decide today Ethan's the problem. That's not governance, that's intimidation. Legally, what Lillian and her crew were doing is called arbitrary enforcement. Judges hate it. And the whole family contract thing. That's a fiduciary duty violation. Fancy talk for you're supposed to put the community ahead of your own wallet. If you're steering business to your relatives and not telling anyone that's not just shady, that's potentially criminal. And honestly, psychologically, classic power play. When people in charge get threatened, they don't face the real issue. They invent a new one. Suddenly, me saving money becomes me threatening the neighborhood if you give in once they own you. Lesson here, HOA conflicts are never about what they say they're about. It's about money, ego, control. Firewood was just the excuse. Once I figured that out, I stopped arguing. You don't negotiate with people protecting a scam. You document, you get backup. I called a lawyer. Vanessa Morales. She's a pro at HOA. Wars, sharp as a tack, no nonsense. She reads everything. Emails, fines, financials. My whole evidence pile leans back and says, Ethan, they've been sloppy. You have leverage. So we move fast. File for an injunction to stop foreclosure. Demand a forensic audit. Send official notices about the undisclosed conflicts of interest. And then Vanessa's not wild about this, but I do it anyway. I mail copies of the whole story to every single homeowner in Silver Pines. Facts, not drama, documents, numbers, family ties, the whole tangled mess. Just, here's what I found. Decide for yourself. Within hours, my phone's blowing up. People are furious. Is this real? We're paying how much? Even Lillian calls me shrieking. How dare you spread lies about me? I just tell her, they're not lies. They're public records. You know it. Click. End of story. 2 weeks later, the next HOA meeting is nothing like usual. Normally, it's 10 folks and some stale cookies. This time, 100 homeowners, standing room only. Folks holding my letter, whispering, glaring. Lillian comes in, tries to run the show, doesn't get 5 words in. Why are we paying triple? Why is your brother-in-law in charge? Where'd the money go? The place erupts. She tries to shut it down, not on the agenda, but the crowd won't have it. Put it on the agenda. Applause. We want an audit. More applause. And then here comes the big twist. One of the other board members, Rachel Kim, stands up, voice shaking. I move to suspend the president pending an external investigation. Dead silence. They vote. 4 in favor, 1 against Lillian. She stands up, red-faced, trembling, and spits. You're making a huge mistake. Rachel fires back. What this community needs is honesty. Bang. Gavel down. Lillian's out. Lillian's. I felt relief for about 48 hours. Then it got weird. I wake up to a sheriff's deputy at my door. Deputy Harris. Nice guy, looks embarrassed. Ethan, I gotta ask you some questions. Lillian says you threatened her. Total fabrication. I show him my call logs messages. He sighs. Between us looks retaliatory, but I have to write it up. That's when I realize Lillian's desperate. And desperate people do dumb, dangerous things. 3 weeks later, the audit comes in, and it's brutal. Hail Management overbilled us by $60,000 a year. Fake maintenance, phantom inspections, bloated contracts. Lillian never disclosed the family connection. Clear violation. Board fires Hale sues, removes Lillian for good, bans her from any future position. But while the paperwork drama played out, winter didn't care. December came in swinging. -25, rolling blackouts, trees snapping in the cold. I'm okay, stove blazing, generator humming. But my neighbors aren't. Central propane system starts failing. No heat, no hot water. My neighbor Tom, retired engineer, comes over. Ethan, the main's out. We check no maps, no maintenance records. Hale had kept everything secret. The main distribution vault's buried under 3 feet of snow, frozen solid. 5 of us grab shovels, flashlights, torches, and go to work in sub-zero wind. 20-minute shifts before your fingers freeze. Inside, it's a nightmare. Corrosion, leaks, busted valves. We patch what we can, reroute the flow, get heat back to most homes. That probably saved people from disaster. A week later, Deputy Harris calls. Can you come down to the station? I walk in, meet Detective Allison Reed. She slides over some printed out text between Lillian and Marcus, dated right before the outage. Lillian, he's ruining everything. Something needs to happen. Marcus, I'll handle it. They'll see what happens when people don't follow the rules. Lillian, is it safe, Marcus? Just enough to cause problems. I still have vault access. My stomach drops. They didn't just neglect maintenance. They sabotaged the system. During a cold snap, on purpose, just to make me look bad, to scare people back in line, to claw back control. Detective Reed says if you and your neighbors hadn't fixed it, people could have died. That week, both of them were arrested. Fraud conspiracy, sabotage, reckless endangerment. The local news went nuts. HOA president arrested in utility sabotage. I didn't give any interviews. Let the facts speak for themselves. By spring, both took plea deals. Marcus got years restitution, bankruptcy. Lillian, 3 years banned from HOA leadership period. The board wiped my violation, erased my fines, passed new rules protecting emergency prep. My setup became the example. And somehow the guy who just wanted to split wood ended up blowing up a criminal ring. After all the court dates and headlines and chaos, the place finally went back to normal. Just another sleepy mountain neighborhood. One evening I'm sitting on the porch, late summer sun dropping behind the ridge. Everything quiet except the breeze in the pines. I look at my wood pile, my propane tanks, the same setup that started this mess, and I just shake my head at how something so small exposed something so ugly. Because let's be real, when you move into an HOA, you're not thinking about corruption. You just want your trash picked up and your roads plowed. You trust the people in charge to do right by everyone. But Power Man, even a little bit of it, has a way of twisting people up, especially when no one's watching. Suddenly, some folks stop serving and start controlling. If there's a lesson in all this, it's that you don't have to scream to stand up for yourself. You don't have to pick a fight. But you do have to pay attention, ask questions, read the fine print. Because abuse of power almost never starts with a gunshot. It starts with a warning letter, a fine, a little push to see if you'll fold. That's the moment you need to pay attention. And look, knowing your rights matters. You don't need to be a lawyer, but you do need to understand that boards can't make up rules on a whim. Conflicts of interest aren't just shady, they're illegal. Records belong to homeowners, not the board. Intimidation isn't leadership, It's just cowardice in a suit. But you know what stuck with me the most? How close I came to just giving in. Selling half my wood, dumping my tanks, paying the fines, going back into their rigged system would have been easier for sure. But once you say yes to something you know is wrong, it gets easier to say yes the next time and the next until one day you wake up living by someone else's rules, not even sure when you stopped pushing back. Now, Silver Pines is different. Board posts financials online. Contracts get voted on publicly. Homeowners actually show up to meetings. Folks ask questions. Tom runs little preparedness workshops every fall. Some neighbors got their own generators. Not because they're paranoid, but because they care. Because that's what community really is. Watching out for each other, sharing what you learned, standing up when something feels off. And me, I'm still here. Still stacking wood every September, still filling my tank, still running my generator just to keep sharp. Sometimes folks ask for advice and I'm happy to help. If this whole mess taught me anything, it's that being independent isn't about being alone. Being prepared isn't being selfish. And questioning authority, that's not being difficult, that's being responsible. So let me throw it to you. Have you ever dealt with an HOA that overstepped? Ever get pressured to go along with something that just felt wrong? Did you push back or let it slide? Drop your story in the comments. I read them all. And honestly, sometimes the best advice in this community doesn't come from me. It comes from folks like you. Because sometimes all it takes to protect your home, your money, your dignity is just being willing to say, hold on a second, this doesn't add up, and refusing to back down. Thanks for hanging with me. Stay warm out there, stay sharp, and don't be afraid to ask questions. I'll catch you in the next one.
Cảm ơn các bạn đã xem video.